Andrew Neil has brutally shut down a Remainer during a Brexit clash on social media. The veteran political broadcaster challenged a user on Twitter to produce evidence after they claimed he thought Brexit was a good thing. The online spat was triggered after the former BBC-led presenter and GB News chairman appeared on LBC Radio this morning. Speaking to host Nick Ferrari, Mr. Neil, 72, took aim at the Prime Minister's speech at the Tory party conference and the lack of policy details. LBC political editor Theo Usherwood then tweeted quotes from the interview, and some users subsequently turned on Mr. Neil. One user with the handle Colin McPhee hit out at Mr. Neil for working from his home in the south of France during some of the coronavirus pandemic. Another user with the handle Master Ed Binoon then tweeted, "Don't worry about Colin, worry about a person, broadcaster, who lives in Europe and who openly stated leaving the EU was a good thing." At 9:13 a.m., Mr. Neil issued a furious response to the user on the platform. He said, "Either produce evidence that I ever stated leaving the EU was a good thing or be blocked. You have an hour." Exactly 60 minutes later, Mr. Neil followed up his earlier post and wrote, "Time's up, blocked." On Twitter, Mr. Neil also responded to the other user and addressed his living situation with a brilliant takedown. Responding to Colin McPhee, the no-nonsense broadcaster wrote, "Where I am is none of your business, but just to make you look a total numpty, I'm in London and I did the interview from Chelsea, where it's a rather grey day, but at least the rain has held off." During his appearance on LBC, he criticised Boris Johnson for his speech at the Conservative Party conference in Manchester on Wednesday. Mr. Neil insisted the Prime Minister failed to address the immediate economic and supply chain issues affecting the UK this winter. He also voiced concerns over the lack of plans in place to deal with social care. Mr. Neil told LBC, "This winter we're going into a serious cost of living crisis which will hit the poorest most of all. We don't know when the shortages on the supermarket shelves or the petrol forecourts will end. We don't know what the policy is on social care. We don't know what the policy is on the NHS, other than to bung it more money, and we don't know what levelling up means. You can have more alliteration, as Mr. Johnson had, than a West Coast poet from the 60s on LSD. That's all fine. But we're a country with major problems and we need to know the government's solution to these problems, and on that Mr. Johnson had not a jot.